we were told earlier before the fact that we were going to put our hand on this box, and whoever took their hand off last would win a shout out, or pretty much the equivalent of like 1 million subscribers. Because Jimmy was going to tell whoever won, they're going to tell his fans and his followers to go subscribe to them. So it's pretty much like whoever, held their hand on this box the longest got a career in YouTube.
This is Creative Disruption, the intersection where entertainment, data, and creativity meet. Here's your host, Ricky Ray Butler.
Hello, welcome to Creative Disruption. I'm Ricky Ray Butler. I'm so pumped that we have Zealous with us, Matthew Doyen. How are you doing, Matthew?
I'm doing fantastic. One time I was working out to your podcast, and I would replay the intro because it's so hype.
It's so hype. It's so hype. It's so, I'm an older millennial, but it's very Generation X, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But that's funny. What podcast was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It might have been the one with Preston. I love
cool.
listening to that one. He's a cool guy.
Preston's awesome. I love Preston, and Preston plays.
Heck yeah.
So, Zealous, I want to just go straight to the details. You got 2 million followers within 7 hours. I want you to dive deep on how that happened and how that's been since.
Dang. That was, obviously unbelievable. It's kind of hard. Like, I guess it is pretty easy. I guess where to start. So a little background. I've been making like videos ever since I was 7 years old or so.
Wow. And you're 21 now, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh, cool.
But it was kind of off and on. I did I grew up on like Ryan Higa and Smosh and stuff like that. So we made like some skits, and then Freddie Wong. I don't know if anyone listened.
Oh yeah. No, I remember all those guys. Ryan Higa was the biggest YouTuber for a long time.
Seriously. Yeah. So all my friends love that stuff. That's kind of what got me into it. And I could go a lot more into that, but I think what everyone's most interested in is like, obviously the shout out and how to, if something like that happens, how to like maintain that audience perhaps. It was pretty crazy. I'd been doing YouTube for about 3 years, like consistently. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden my friend who I'd worked with had actually made videos for Andrew Seitz from More J Stu. Shout out to Andrew. He texted me and he said that Mr. Beast had put out a Twitter, like a Twitter post. I sound like really old. I don't know why I call it a Twitter post. I don't really use, I know, right? I don't really use like social media too much, which is funny because like that's my job. But pretty much he sent me a text and he said, "Hey, Mr. Beast just tweeted this form out. You should check it out." And pretty much what it said was that Mr. Beast was looking for 4 YouTubers under 100,000 subscribers and to compete in his next video. So all you had to do is sign up through this Google form and kind of explain why you thought you should be a part of the video and wait. So
how many subscribers did you have?
I had at that current time, I had under 30,000, I think.
Wow.
So I was kind of learning the ropes a little bit. I find that like consistency is probably the best way to learn. So I was kind of in that stage of just trying to upload content consistently and like improve my learning curve. But what was crazy is that, when you enter something like this, you don't feel like you're like, oh, I'm probably not going to win or something like that. I'm probably not going to get picked. Like I just entered in Mr. Beast's, everyone gets a Lambo competition where it's like it's $35 to get a Lambo. And who knows, a Lambo might pull up on my next to my apartment, but probably not. That's how you normally feel. But pretty much what happened was I was in church on a Wednesday. So I'm a church boy. And my pastor was talking. I got this random phone call with a North Carolina area code, and I completely ignored it. I was like, I'm in church. I got to keep my priorities straight. So I ignored the phone call. And then when I hung up on the phone call, I saw my phone and it was blowing up with texts. And then I scrolled through and was like, what the heck is happening? And one of the DMs was from Mr. Beast. I was like, someone's pranking me right now. Now, before we get to the funny part of the story, because I ended up actually I was like, oh shoot, I like messed this up. He's not going to call me back now. I just missed my opportunity. He ended up calling me back, and I bolted out of the sanctuary. Sorry, God. I'm still a church boy. Just, I got to ask for forgiveness for that. But pretty much I bolted out of the sanctuary so I could get cell reception and talk to Jimmy. But it actually was pretty cool because I had been to Vid Summit a year earlier. So pretty much what happened was I met Jimmy at 2019 Vid Summit. We talked for about like 5 minutes. Actually, I was standing next to Andrew while we were talking. I went on that trip with Andrew to LA, which, by the way, if you guys haven't heard of Vid Summit, it's the best. One of the best places to go to just connect. That's actually Ricky ran into my girlfriend. Remember, it was at we were having like a blast. We were all playing arcade games at Dave and Buster's at the after party, and he like stepped back and just like boom, and that's how we kind of like ran into each other.
I'm glad no bones were broken. Usually when I run into people, I'm a really big guy. It can be painful.
I don't know. My girlfriend's pretty strong, so I was actually more worried for you. But no, JK. That was actually horrible. I will never forgive you. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, I met Jimmy at Vid Summit the year before, so talking to him wasn't really as like shocking as it could have been because I'd already met him in person. But it was only for about 5 minutes. Anyway, he called me and asked me if I could fly out to North Carolina the next day. Of course, I said no, and now we're here. I'm just kidding. I said yes. We went, and it was really weird. Actually, right when I got to the hotel, there ended up being like this guy who was like causing a scene. So that was like, oh no, is this an omen for the trip? Because it's just a random thing that happened, and it was super weird. But ended up getting picked up by his crew, going to his studio and checking out the set, and it was crazy back then. Even crazier now. Squid Games is coming out today, by the way. Mr. Beast Squid Game video, and it's probably gonna be out by the time that this podcast comes out. Ricky,
are you in that video?
I'm not. But do you want to make any predictions on the view count in the first 24 hours?
I will say 70 million.
In first 24 hours?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm saying like after a month. I'm thinking 30 days.
In 30 days? I think it might hit. I think it's going to be as fast as to 100 million. Anyway, just dang. Random tangent. So I'm curious if it could actually hit 100 million in 30 days. We'll see.
Okay, what do you think is the first 24 hours going to hit?
First 24 hours? I've had some friends guessing 37 million, 42 million, like around that area. Mm-hmm. You know when they guess on Prices Right and like they go a lot higher than everybody else mm-hmm. and either look like really smart or look like an idiot.
Yeah, I wish this video is coming out. I wish we did this live because this video is gonna be going live probably a week from like Saturday, and
gotcha.
I guess everyone can comment. We can see who's closest. You or myself in 14 days. So if I say 70 million. In 30 days, I would say in 2 weeks from now, it'd probably be like closer to like I'd say 50 million.
Okay, so right when this podcast comes out, 2 weeks.
I'm saying million. 50. What are you saying?
I think it's going to be 63 million.
Actually, how about this? I'm going to say 62 million, and then we're done. All right. So you're 63. I'm 62. Let's see who wins.
You pulled the prices right on me. Anyway.
Go back to your story. By the way, this is so like proper Jimmy, like Mr. Beast, how when he connects with people, it's really fast, it's very impulsively, and there's always an action plan. Like there's always something that you got to do after. Like with Team C's, he called me up. He says, okay, I need help with both Ben and Two Buddy and helping us push this forward. And so we ended up collaborating with him, and it was within like 24 hours where everything got planned, and we started like pushing things forward. It's amazing. He moves so fast.
Seriously.
So he called you and said, tomorrow you need to come to North Carolina.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Awesome.
So we ended up flying out. I met the other competitors, and they're the nicest people, still friends with all of them to this day. And I talked to them very consistently. It was crazy. Is there any details that you want to hear?
What was the experience like? I mean, it sounds exhausting, but yeah, just go through the details of what happened and how were those conversations with those other competitors, and then just give the details of like how you won and everything that happened.
Yes. So A funny thing, I guess, first of all, I was actually bald during this time. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, I have a full head of hair. I actually need a haircut, I would say. So all my competitors remember me as the bald guy. So that's funny. But I've literally never been bald in my life. But pretty much, so that's kind of, that sets the tone, I guess, going in front of 40, 50 million people as a bald person. Not that being bald is bad. Anyway, I could get canceled for that. So we go in, I meet the competitors. It's kind of weird, obviously, because, we were told earlier before the fact that we were going to put our hand on this box, and whoever took their hand off last would win a shout out, or pretty much the equivalent of like 1 million subscribers, because Jimmy was going to tell whoever won, they're going to tell his fans and his followers to go subscribe to them. So it's pretty much like whoever held their hand on this box the longest got a career in YouTube. And so the stakes are pretty high, because each and every one of us, all 4 of us, had been doing like YouTube, making videos for a long time. There's one guy who's been doing it for like ever since YouTube started. His name's Adam. He's a dope dude. And so it was pretty intense, obviously, at that moment. We walked inside the studio. It's an old church that they actually converted into like a film studio. It has truss, metal beams, lights that blind you. They're so bright. And we walk into the filming room, and there's like 6 guys who are all working on this pillar with this box on top of it. It looks like a shrine. And it's like, probably an hour before we start shooting, he's running us through it. Anyway, fast forward an hour. We're all like, we've all, flown overnight. We're all tired. We're up for 12 hours at this point already. And then we put our hands on this box, and they start the video. They start the intro. And literally at this point, you cannot take your hand off this box. If you take your hand off this box, then I was so worried, because I thought I was going to take it off in the first hour. I was so worried for the first hour, because I was like, what if I just become absent-minded, make a mistake, and just tug it off? And thankfully that didn't end up happening, but I feel like that's probably what was going through everyone's minds. Anyway, it starts filming. They start filming, and there's probably, I'd say, 6 GoPros in the room, all looking at our hands. There's a overhead camera up top. It's like a red, high quality, like 6K camera, and it's filming straight down from the ceiling. And there are, from what I heard, like 4 people at any time just watching the screens to see if we're going to take our hands off. So it's pretty crazy.
And so what next? Like, I mean, so how many was it again? Is you and like 3 others, or?
Correct. So very, very tight space. What they didn't actually end up putting in the video is after we destroyed Carl's car. If you go watch the video, we destroyed Carl's car. And from there, my friend Maddie actually got a little bit overambitious with the destruction and ended up taking his hand off the box. It was about 6 hours in. From there, the box has wheels on it. So the box is on a pillar that has wheels, and I had to use the bathroom. So you either had the option, which I would hate to be the person who does this. Shout out to David. David was the guy who helped me out with this, but I just feel so much empathy for him, because it probably was the worst job ever. But either you went in a bucket, which was David's job to help you out with that. Oh
gosh.
Which obviously they don't put in the video. They did it very dignified, but I still felt bad. It's terrible, but they do it for real. You cannot take your hand off this box.
Wow.
Or all the other competitors can agree to wheel the pillar to the bathroom. So this didn't actually get put in the video, but my competitors, who at the time Maddie was eliminated, Isaiah Photo, who now actually has 1.5, 1.6. He's closing in on 2 million subscribers through the shorts algorithm mostly, and just making like great content there. It was Isaiah, and it was my friend Adam, Pretty Board Vids, who agreed to let me wheel myself to the bathroom. And I have never gone to the restroom in front of 2 grown men before.
Yeah.
And I'll probably never do it again. I never ever want to do that ever again. But shout out to those guys. So
wow, true teamwork as competitors when they could have, definitely made it more difficult for you.
They definitely could have. And I feel like that actually kind of could segue a little bit into what I feel like we're going to talk about later in this
Yeah.
podcast. So, which is like the value of friendships and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And the value of what's the saying? It's a rising tide raises all ships. Like
Yes.
Jimmy's talked about it a lot, where obviously, they could have been totally me in this competition. I feel like it probably would have been a good strategic tactic to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all friends now, and we benefit off each other's knowledge and stuff like that. And I feel like that's kind of a good metaphor, not the pooping side of it,
Yeah.
but the not the going to the bathroom side of it, but the side of it where it's like, if you're there for your friends and you develop friendships in the YouTube community and you share knowledge amongst each other, then you're just going to grow at a faster rate. You're going to improve your learning curve, and you're going to, hopefully get a couple million subscribers.
Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting. And it's about not being an island, right? You have to cross pollinate. You got to, collaborate and do it in an authentic way because your audience knows you. They know if you're being real or not. And working with people that have a good affinity and people that you can become friends with and collaborating. That's it. Yeah, you're right. It just makes it so all ships rise.
100%. And I feel like it also makes you like a normal person more. I've like, when I first got the shout out, I kind of fell into this, this trap of like, not like, I think it's good at times to separate work and life. At other times, like, you can work with your friends and it kind of helps to do that both at the same time. But I kind of isolated myself after the shout out, which we'll get more into after we go through this story. I kind of isolated myself into just my own little bubble. I was an island, like you said. And what kind of allowed me to become like more creative and have just a more fun time making content is just connecting with the people who I naturally connect with in my space. For instance, there's a couple people. Matthew Beam is one of them, who's been really blowing up recently. He made a Squid Game video, I think 2 weeks ago. It's already up to like 13 million views, helping Jimmy out with that type of stuff. And it really makes an exponential difference when you can hang out with other people who are in the same like lane as what you love, and can bounce stuff off of them, especially for people like me who are external processors.
I mean, and I want to get to this, but I mean, you obviously won the competition. I want more details there of what happened there, but this is something else we got to talk about. You were very generous. You were very generous on, sharing the handles of all of your competitors and like giving them a shout out after getting all that attention. And that says a lot about you. And it says a lot about the bond that you've built with these 3 other people.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it's honestly, it just goes back to the friend thing. Like, it's lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
The way that they're all extremely determined. There were a couple times during the competition that actually I was considering, like, because I'm a man of faith and stuff like that. I feel like I enjoy like being able to develop my relationship with God. And I was kind of asking God during the competition, I was like, Lord, do I take my hand off this box? Cause like these people are just as hardworking. They're just as passionate. I know that if I'm supposed to, grow a channel, that like, you'll show me how it's supposed to happen. Whether it's this way or another way. So it's kind of almost like giving it up to him. It's crazy. Right when I asked him that question, my friend Adam actually removed his hand from the box. And that was after 36 hours. It was 36 hours of standing. You weren't allowed to sit. You couldn't, actually. The box was too high. And if you fell asleep, then your hand fell off. And there were a couple of times where myself and my competitors, like Isaiah and Adam, had, we almost fell asleep. We would hallucinate. It was crazy. And
wow.
Yeah. And obviously it was all safe. It was just like, sometimes you'd look over and think you see something that you don't. It's kind of crazy when that happens. But yeah, pretty much I asked God, like, hey, am I supposed to keep my hand on this box, and kind of surrendered it up to him, even though I was willing to like stay on there as long as I needed to, in order to win. And I know that they were as well. But he took his hand off the box, and then within the next 10 minutes, Isaiah ended up having his foot step over the line. If you watch the video, you'll know what I mean. It's called "Get This One Random Person to 1 Million Subscribers" by Mr. Beast, and you can follow along with the story as you're listening to the podcast. But it was pretty crazy. The last all three of us got out within 10 minutes of each other after 36 hours.
Wow. No, that is amazing. But it's great to see your perspective and you being vulnerable here and sharing something very special. It says a lot about that you're a person with empathy, and we need more people like you. Having this type of influence. I think it's something that's very good for the world. I'm not getting. I was expecting to get a different story of like how competitive it was, playing mind games without really seeing.
There was a little bit
on the video, but it sounds like you were having this huge kumbaya this entire time. This is intense.
What's
very different than Squid Games.
Yes, 100%. And I honestly think it got on Jimmy's nerves a little bit because he loves the competition aspect and it's great for the video. And we're all creators, but at the same time, like we were being like way too nice to each other for the video, and he was like, "You guys got to be meaner to each other." So it was pretty funny how that happened. But yeah, everyone was awesome. There was a little bit of mind games being played from time to time, but I think the one thing that I wanted to do was just try to like win it in a clean way and stuff like that. And but actually, I appreciate that comment about the empathetic thing, because that's actually something that I think isolating yourself actually goes against. And I think empathy is one of the biggest things that you need to like not only just be a good person, but also like be a great leader and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if you want to do YouTube and you want to do it efficiently, a lot of times you need to be a great leader. You need to lead at least one person who's your editor, or if you're trying to go scale it up, then you're going to end up leading a lot of people. Yeah. And that's kind of something I feel like empathy, at least for me, I become more empathetic when I am actually able to spend that time around people and not isolate myself and gain that larger perspective and stuff like that. So it's interesting as we kind of can talk a little bit more about the aftermath of the shout out and maintaining those subscribers or even finding new viewers and stuff like that, and hiring people, having to fire people, mistakes that I made in my own leadership and stuff like that. I think it's going to be really interesting to the people listening about how much empathy comes into play and how easy it is to actually kind of lose sight of it at times.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a good friend. His name is Safi Bakal. He's the writer of a book called Loonshots. It's one of my favorite business books out there, especially for high growth businesses.
I'll have to read it.
And one thing he's told me, and he's someone that I see as an advisor and mentor, is it's really important to have a perfect balance if you're in a leadership position or a CEO, of being able to inspire but also be able to create systems. And so looking at it just from a different angle, I think whether you're a creator or an executive, or you want to be successful and you're going to need to build a team as a result of that, having a good balance of being data driven but also having empathy and being able to connect, is just so important in so many different ways, and it's just going to help progress happen. And a lot of the creators that I've worked with thousands of creators in my career. This has been my entire career in this space. I was younger when I was first working with creators. Back in the day, like with MySpace and early Facebook days. And it's interesting. You see a variety of different types of creators, and there were creators that were some of the biggest back then that they refused to do collaborations, and they saw other creators as competition. Because you have to remember, there was a time when you could count on both hands how many creators had more than 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Right. That was crazy. That's unbelievable to think about.
And there were some that really understood the collaboration and how important that was. And those were the ones that could collaborate and, truly, build friendships and enjoy the process of creating and growing an audience and making content. Those are the ones that are still relevant today. And, one person to give a shout out there is Brent Rivera. He's someone that has always made sure he's been on top of, collaborating and connecting with new creators and helping empower other creators to grow like himself. And he's been extremely successful as a result of that.
Heck yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I actually he was at Vid Summit this year, wasn't he?
I don't know if he was. I didn't see him there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was. I mean, I think at least his manager was there.
Gotcha. I think I saw him show up at one of those like events that Carrot put on. I think it was like the like
Okay.
poker night or something like that. But
Oh,
I saw a
cool.
picture. I was like, no way, I missed him because I definitely watched him when he was doing Vine and stuff like that. But that's cool. I'll definitely have to look more into his story because that's something I am trying to learn more. And probably one of my biggest mistakes was just like how I kind of let my mindset like deteriorate when I was kind of you know finding like out how to manage this growth and feeling like I needed to work my butt off, which I did, but at the same time like kind of
You had a whole like business fall into your lap right after this competition. So first off, how did it feel like when you found out that you won the competition? And then after that answer, tell us what happened the next several months.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was so tired, man. I was so unbelievably tired. I felt bad because I was like, dang, my reaction to winning was like garbage for the video because I was literally like at the point of just like complete exhaustion. I think we were up for like 50 hours at that point, standing for 36, but up for a total of 50 hours. So with that being said, I don't think it really like cemented in my brain until like it took a while. It took like probably weeks after it happened to like, I might still be processing it if I'm like, I'm trying to figure it out because I think it just went from like, oh, sick to like, holy crap, I've been making like content at a 30,000 subscriber level and now I got to make content at a 2 million plus subscriber level. And it's like, oh shoot, that's a pretty big jump. So if you want to know about kind of the months afterwards, my channel wouldn't be where it is right now if it weren't for Daryl, like working with Daryl and working with his chief of staff, Justin. They are like just the goats, some of the greatest people to talk to about like, YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's other awesome people out there like Patty Galloway. Shout out to Patty. Harry Carlisle. I think that's how you say his name.
So Daryl and all these other people, like they were all advisors, or did they help, manage your channel? How did you collaborate with all of them?
So they were more like, I guess, consultants on like a weekly basis. The really cool thing is that before I actually like in between getting shouted out and like the before and after that, I was taking this YouTube course called Channel Jumpstart that Daryl actually heads up, and it pretty much teaches you like all the fundamentals of like making a basic video and stuff like that, of like the storytelling, obviously figuring out the title and thumbnail first and foremost, etc., and then actually like launching in the right way.
One of the million things that he does, and one of the reasons why he can't be as involved in this podcast is because he has so many different things that are so successful from Vid Summit. Then, he does The Chosen with a big chunk of his time. He's doing so much, and it's amazing that he still finds time to help empower new creators like yourself.
Yeah, seriously, it was incredible, and obviously, I think he was very patient with me because I had a lot to learn and stuff like that. So I do really appreciate it a lot. But how does he like? How do you like describe how people like him get so much stuff done? Like, I'm curious if you don't mind me throwing you a question.
Oh goodness, I think that's an answer for him to answer. He's literally the definition of a serial entrepreneur. But what's different about him is that he is a creative at the same time. And so when he's doing something, there's a good chance that he's not just, managing it, but he's driving it and leading it by doing a lot of the detailed work. And, he has like this very special touch of just making things grow and making things, successful. So you have, with The Chosen, you have Dallas Jenkins, who's like the visionary and the director, the writer of the series, and it could not happen without him. But it also wouldn't be able to happen without Daryl, because Daryl's the one that has built the community, that has like done the marketing around it, and he's the CEO, and makes all the things that happen that need to happen in this new world of content. And so he builds a strong team around him that helps him get things done, but he's also like very hyper focused on a lot of different things. I'm much different. I'm a much more focused type of an executive. If I'm going to be involved in a lot of different projects, my involvement in The Chosen is much less than his. It's once a week, touching base with all the other owners, et cetera, and speaking very high level. I'm more of a high level person where I cannot do it by myself. I need to make it so there's people that can lead it and make it happen. And I stay very close to staying with vision and
I feel
there.
That's interesting. I feel like I'm kind of similar. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure myself out too, because I'm just 21. Obviously, I think that's probably one of the most important things of being a creator or successful in general, is just kind of knowing and being self-aware and stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure out, but I think I definitely lean more towards like the vision side, and like I would definitely benefit from having like an operator. And that's so, like these are terms, by the way, that I feel like not a lot of people understand at first. Like producer, what the heck does a producer do? What the heck does an operator like do? What is a creative director do and stuff like that?
All the details that you don't want to do.
Yeah, I guess so. That'd be a good way to explain it, right? Just so that everyone, listening, if they're kind of where I was, even a couple months ago, if that helps. But
yeah, well, it's interesting because I think sometimes people try to oversimplify the process, and the truth is, you always need team. You always need collaboration if you want to grow something that becomes great. In order to achieve greatness, it's going to be very hard. You can do good things, you can do great things, but greatness is consistently, being able to, optimize what you do and how you collaborate, and having and we talked about this, in the last podcast that we did with Alicia Marie and Ashley Nicole, is, we talked about having an awareness of both your strengths and weaknesses is so important, because you then see, okay, who do I need to collaborate with? And whether, they report into me or I report into them, understanding and awareness of your own strengths and weaknesses is just a game changer in being successful. When I finally figured that out as an entrepreneur, my business exploded over 100% every year. Before that, I was doing way too much detail, and I was not good at those details. I'm not a very detailed, person. I'm one of those people that I can see vision, I can see strategy, I know what needs to happen, but I can't be the only one doing it, or I will fail.
Yeah. Is it like more of a thing where you feel like you need to bounce stuff off of people, or like you're really good at delegating? Like
stuff off of people, but find people that are more talented than you and being okay with that.
Yeah. Gotcha. Was it hard being okay with it at first, or was it hard finding the people?
I thought I was the smartest person in the world. I wanted to do everything perfectly because I was such a badass. And that was my biggest mistake early in my career. I've had several businesses that weren't successful. And as of recent, when it comes to the business that I own and running Ben, as well as, when I do investments, I look at the world in a much different lens. And, I get mentored mainly by the people I hire that can do things that I can't do. And they make me much more smarter. They make me much more aware. And it makes it so, you have a good dynamic of knowing, okay, who's going to own what, and let's tackle this mission together. And so
I love that.
You're at a really fun place in your career because you've had this massive growth. You've obviously been able to keep your audience loyal, and your engagement and your viewership is so strong, and you've been able to grow your audience since. You're now at the point of like continual growth and continual, figuring out how to sustain yourself and to stay consistent. And this has got to be overwhelming but fun, because it sounds like you're assembling your team right now.
Yes. So that's actually something that I think I held off a little bit too long on. Actually, it's
been a year, my friend. You're
I
good.
know, right? Well, I guess it, like in the grand scheme of things, it's really short, because I was thinking about it, it's like, man, like obviously this year, I feel like learning curve is such an important thing, and I want to come back. So in case I go off on a tangent, because I tend to do that, remind me to come back to like the team thing. But like for this whole year, I'm the type of person who like, I love watching educational videos and like videos about YouTube, and just talking with my friends about stuff that I am interested in that I want to improve, whether it's like, cause I used to do Taekwondo. So I'm pretty into like physical fitness and stuff like that. As
I used to do
well.
Kanja Kimbo.
Are you serious?
Yes. You know what
Is
that
is
is?
is that a type of karate? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a type of karate that I think came from Hawaii. I didn't really know much about it as a kid, but after I watched Cobra Kai, I got the bug again, and I went and researched my roots in karate.
Let's go. Heck yes. Dang, we're gonna have to spar. Although you'd probably beat me because I only did the pretty stuff. I did flips and such. That's why like our stunts in real life videos are a thing.
Well, I mean, if you want to challenge me to a fight, I think I just have to be aware of your endurance and use some jujitsu moves to take you to the ground.
Oh, you'd definitely win. You'd 100% win.
I'll just use my weight and gravity. You know, I'm very data driven. I'm very scientific when it comes to fighting.
I don't know if you're hiding like an extra hand under your beard or something like that.
I definitely have an extra hand under my beard,
kind of like Chuck Norris,
and under my ponytail too.
Oh my gosh, no, but you know what I mean. Like if you're doing jujitsu and you like get caught in the same like headlock 6 times, then obviously your learning curve needs improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like where I feel like I've been this year is like, shoot, looking back, yes, I love like gaining this knowledge and stuff, but it doesn't mean anything if I can't actually like get out of the dang headlock and go do what I need to do. So I don't know. I think that's kind of a tangent that I guess I went on was
so a question I have for you, and I want to go back to teamwork as well. How was it engaging with this new audience for the first time? Was it intimidating? Was it an audience that was easy to connect with? I'm sure there were both insecurities and, areas of confidence, but like, tell me how that was after uploading that first video.
So, oh my goodness. If you look at my videos from right after the shout out versus now, they have a much different feel. So I definitely felt like I needed to act a little bit different to like maintain this audience and stuff like that. And I definitely think that there's like, obviously points to being energetic and stuff on camera. But unfortunately, I think I took it to like a crazy level, but it didn't matter that much in that point. It's just kind of something that I look back on and I'm like, oh, I probably could have done that differently. It was just the actual like authenticity of everything. But I think it goes back to what you said about kind of confidence. I feel like the best way to build confidence is just do something consistently and over a period of time, like that confidence will build as you continue to do it and kind of fail at it and stuff like that. When it comes to the audience itself, it was interesting because like you either had this route to like kind of mooch off of Mr. Beast a little bit more, which honestly probably would have been strategically sound 100%. I don't think I did that enough actually. But at the same time, you have people who, when you do that, they'll say like, oh, he's only getting his views from because of Mr. Beast. He's only getting his views because he put Mr. Beast's name in the title. I still get comments like even on videos completely unrelated. Like our most viewed video has like 17 million views. We have a video that has like 14 million views. They're both the most viewed videos on our channel, and they're not related to Jimmy. Not that that's like, a good or a bad thing. It's just kind of a neutral thing, but I still get those comments. So I think the biggest thing is not whether or not they're saying that. It was just not taking that too seriously.
Sure.
Because a lot of times like when you're put in this position, you're called lucky. You're called, which I am very lucky, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, but obviously, and I'm very, very grateful, but at the same time, like, you can start to convince yourself, oh, it is just luck. It is just, this thing that I don't necessarily deserve. And that takes away energy from actually going out and trying to like do the stuff that allows you to deserve it, I guess. So I think the biggest thing is, it's more internal than it is external. It's not like who the audience is, who's coming over to your channel. It's more so like, how do you interact with the audience on a self-awareness scale? And how do you react to how they react? How do you respond to how they react? Are you getting caught up in the comments, or both positive and negative? As Gary Vee says, you really don't want to do either or. You just want to get feedback so that you can keep improving. Or are you just focusing on making good content and building your confidence level. I think that's probably the most challenging thing for me.
So let's talk about like feedback and data. How do you filter that feedback? Without it, because that's a lot of comments that you were never used to. This is not something you built up to. It just exploded. It accelerated. So have you felt like you found that pattern of how to both, read the comments and, look at the data?
Yes. So I think one of the biggest things is, and this is not supposed to sound like prideful at all. I try my best to remain like as humble as I possibly can, because I want to remain in a state to like learn and stuff like that. But I think it's also at the same time, because you're thrusted into this, 2 million subscribers. It's obviously, there's a lot of channels with 2 million subscribers, but literally, like, think about your audience growing 50 times like overnight, or actually, sorry, 20 times overnight, math. Cause I grew to 50,000 subscribers, and then in 7 hours, it grows to 2 million, 20 times what you were used to. Then this is going to sound kind of like fluffy, but your identity kind of has to catch up to that. Your identity of like, I can do this. Like, I was built to learn and like handle this. You got to have that confidence. And I think if you don't, which I didn't at the time, and I'm learning to kind of develop that while remaining like humble so that I can learn. I was almost too much in a humbled state of learning that I really, and don't take this the wrong way, but I overvalued a lot of people's intelligence. So, and I undervalued my own gut, because there's so much data, obviously. But I like the saying by this guy, Craig Groeschel, has an awesome leadership podcast. After you binge watch Creative Disruption, you should listen to him. But pretty much what he says is you want to be like insanely gutsy, but also insanely nerdy. So you want to go with your gut and then check it against the data. And I kind of threw my gut out the window at that time. And I think it's like, that was partially a good thing, because it did allow me to really unlearn some things and adjust. But at the same time, because I threw my gut out the window, I wasn't just listening to the experts. I was listening to my mom. No offense, Mom, I love you. But you got to listen to people who like are trying to either figure this out alongside you, like your friends who you can kind of brainstorm and push back against, or experts and stuff like that. Who know what they're talking about. And at the same time, I think you got to push back against the experts, which that was one challenge I think that I had sometimes with chatting when I was chatting with Daryl, is I just wasn't as good at pushing back. And he told me to. He told me to push back, and I didn't. Right? I think
you need to validate data points from other people, and if they can continue to argue and give you even more data, as a part of their argument or the advice that they're giving you, you then can, clarify and validate if what they're giving you like is solid and it's really thought through.
100%. Cause a lot of times, like if I show my mom a video, I know now that like, yes, I can watch her reaction, but like based on what she's watching, is she confused? Is she getting it? And I feel like everyone can relate to that who's a content creator. They probably show their parents or a close friend their video, but I can't always listen to the feedback that they give, because they don't necessarily know, like they haven't studied storytelling. They haven't studied, click-through rate. They haven't studied how to hook an audience and stuff like that, and actually carry them through to the end of a video, which are the two most important things: click, watch, and then lastly, that they enjoyed the video. So it's very important to test the spirits, I guess you could say, and really discover if like, is this information I'm receiving actually valuable? Or do I need to kind of disagree with some stuff sometimes, which I'd say, definitely try and disagree and bring up other points, because it brings you deeper into those good conversations.
What data do you look at, like outside of humans? And I want to go back to that in just a second, but like, do you look at view through rate, or do you just read the top comments?
So I think comments are really good for getting to know your audience. The main thing,
view through rate, I mean watch time, excuse me. Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Definitely, I think the two biggest things I look at are real-time views, like how many views is this video getting an hour and a minute, and then also, like you said, the watch time. But I think even more than that, the most valuable skill, excuse me, is being able to understand what's top of mind. Because watch time metrics, CTR metrics, real time view metrics, like any trick in the book isn't going to fix a bad idea or a non-relevant idea that isn't going to. Yeah, seriously. Like I've made videos
that's true.
It's crazy. We made a really expensive video that didn't have any like tie to pop culture or really like trend or anything that's kind of like popping off. It was kind of like a standalone thing. And sometimes those videos can work, but it's a lot lower of a chance than if you were to tie something into pop culture or into a current trend, like for instance, Squid Games, like Mr. Beast is doing. I wonder if my prediction was right. I have a feeling Ricky's was right, but crossing my fingers for that 2% chance. But I think here's an example. We made a video that was very expensive and it was kind of not on a trend. And then at the same time, it performed. So the worst performing video, probably the second most expensive video we made, worst performing video. And then we made a video that cost $200. It was our first stunts in real life video, and it got 17 million views because it was tied into pop culture. So data is awesome. Definitely look at real time, 100%. Like look at CTR, look at real time when you upload, and a lot of times like your real-time views, which is like your 48-hour and specifically your 60-minute, that's what's going to show like, is my thumbnail good? Is my title good? Even better than your click-through rate will. So I'd say real-time is number one if you're trying to like look at click-through rate in the first, like probably 2 days after upload. And then watch time is definitely and your actual retention line, like looking where the dips are. How can I improve my first 30 seconds specifically, because that brings the whole baseline up. And then I'd say lastly is A/B testing like 2 weeks after the video is done. Like that's when I'm looking more so at like definitely the click-through rate with TubeBuddy and stuff like that, because you can A/B test through TubeBuddy. If you don't know what A/B testing is, obviously Ricky knows, but the people watching, Ricky knows way more than I do about A/B testing. A/B testing is 2 different thumbnails, and TubeBuddy, which is an online program, pretty much switches between the two for you automatically and figures out the best click-through rate. That's good to do like 2 weeks after the fact. But other than that, first things first, have a good idea.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, they go back to that. And also that's where you also want validation from peers or people around you. And, subjectivity and, self-deception are both so dangerous. And so you have to be very careful with how you filter that data. But, you mentioned like, following your gut. And I have a lot of, theories around this and how this works. And it's funny, like when we look at AI and we have, AI algorithms that help predict viewership, that help predict, clicks, it helps predict actually conversions for a lot of the brands that we work with on the Ben side of the business. And what's interesting is there's a certain type of data that, makes the biggest difference, and that's unstructured data. So that's when the AI literally looks at the visuals, the audio, the large groups of text, all this stuff that you can't just look at by like looking at a spreadsheet or looking at, at a dashboard, that you get from the platforms. And what we've seen is, where the AI beats humans in making these types of predictions, it's not because of the structured data. It's not because of the average views. It's not because, all the different engagements that, most of us humans are only looking at. It's because it's getting more insight from the actual, content, the actual creative. And so I believe as humans, and then this is a theory, this isn't necessarily science, but that we are processing data all the time that we don't even know about. But it gets us to be in one of those situations where if we need to make a really bold decision, I believe that, we get that gut feel that comes with practice. It comes with a lot of experience, and it comes with a lot of data gathering that just gives us, a very strong feeling that we got to go in a certain direction when maybe it looks a little dark and it's nerve-wracking to step forward. And the reason why, I think it's hard for us is because, if I could give an example here, this is my cap for my Cannell. How many ways are you going to describe this cap? Probably 10 ways, 12 ways, of what this cap is. Well, our AI can describe it, in 10 million different ways. And so when
That's
they're
amazing.
watching a video, and when you're watching a video, there's only so much, correlation or causation that you can pick up from watching a video and other videos. But the AI can put it to the science. They can look at all of your history. It can look at all the other creators out there and what's relevant. And it can make a very bold prediction by looking at tens of thousands of videos within seconds, when you and I can only watch, in seconds, one video.
Seriously.
And so 80 to 90% of the data out there is unstructured. And as humans, it's almost impossible for us to process that. And so, this is an area where we get really excited with TubeBuddy, because we're now bringing AI, to the table to really help make our features even more accurate and bring in new features that can do things that humans just cannot do on their own.
Right. That's crazy. I never even thought about that, actually. Would you say so just because that's really, it's an insane amount of information on something that I think that I'm probably not the most educated about. Would you say that unstructured data based on that comes a lot from the gut feeling, because our subconscious is processing so much, and it's kind of similar to that?
That's my theory. That's what I think is happening. And again, because, there's a lot of high touch businesses that just takes, decades of experience to perfect. And you want to have experienced people taking on those types of responsibilities because they've done it before and they just have really good intuition on, what to do if there's a gray area. And what's great about, technology and AI is that it kind of takes out the guesswork and makes it, so it's all scientific and not, it mitigates the risk significantly, and also saves the time, because if you and I are trying to get feedback from a bunch of videos, and let's say those videos are half hour long, it's going to take hours and hours and hours to process that.
Seriously.
And so if we step back and we look at the world that we live in of entertainment and content, there's tens of millions of videos they're uploading every day. As humans, we can't process the 50 million creators out there that are doing all of this content. And so having technology to help us figure out, okay, what's the data saying, across all these different platforms, in these specific genres or verticals, that can be very helpful to us. And this is where I think content creation is going to even accelerate even more so than it is today. When we have technology that can assist us, to really scale what we're doing and make it so we can focus more on, high level ideas rather than all the tedious details, and to take out the guesswork. So I think, just around the corner, we're going to have technology that helps us improve our editing process way more than humans could do on their own.
That's really interesting. So are you talking about something that's completely automated, or something that gives suggestions based on footage that you input into it?
Yeah, I think both. And it's going to have to be what we call collaborative AI, where you have a human expert like yourself that's training technology and helping improve that feedback loop, so the technology can learn like a human but scale like a machine. And so as it goes back to ideas, I think you're right. You can talk to a lot of different experts, but the truth is, no one's going to know your audience as well as you know your audience. Both on, going through the content creation process,
do you think,
looking at all the feedback.
I'm curious, do you think AI could get to the point where they know our audience better than ourselves?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it can definitely get to that point. And so, that's, one thing that, I want to do is, we're experiencing something very beautiful right now. I talk about this all the time, and I hope everyone that's listening that, you don't get too tired of this. But, the reason why I got into this space is because, I consider myself a creative person, but I will never make money with creative. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not really good at details. Totally. I go by the rhythm of my own drum, and no one really likes that type of rhythm when it comes to the content that I create or the music that I create. However, for me, what gets me out of bed in the morning is to know that we can help, more artists to create more art, more creators to create more content, and for them to do it in a way where, they don't have to do it through a centralized system. They don't have to get approval to do it, that they can, maybe with less means than what it took Hollywood producers and filmmakers to do, in the past, to be able to do something that's very beautiful that helps them self-express, how they see the world.
Wow.
And I think that's really important. I think it's really important that it becomes more and more decentralized, because the more data we have from different individuals of the beauty and the struggle that they see, I think we're going to become a lot more aware of us as humans. And, it is art that preserves history.
Yes.
It is art that preserves culture. And we've learned from it up until now, but it's been very centralized. And now we're seeing this era where there's more art than ever before. I think that's just going to make us smarter, and we're going to be able to learn from it. And that's going to make it so we can figure out ways of how to better collaborate and like connect with other countries, other humans, and just overall have a better place, be in a better place, as a planet. And so I think sometimes people marginalize this industry of saying, oh, it's just people uploading videos or making movies, that it's not really that important, but it is, because it's a huge part of self-expression and all of our identity. And we need everyone to feel empowered to be able to do it in their way, even if it doesn't mean they get millions of views.
That's amazing. Dang. So I guess in that case, last question.
No. Hey, I got to ask you the questions, but okay, this is the last one. And then we got to switch this over, or we're going to have a huge drop off on this video.
This is true. I apologize. We're going to get back, but this is actually kind of going back to the direction of both YouTube and AI. If you were to explain it to a 4-year-old, how do you think, the creator who is making videos that get like 100 views per video, how are people like them all the way up to like someone with like with 10 million subscribers going to be using AI in the near future in just one specific way? There's probably a bunch, but I'm just curious, because this is really interesting.
I will say this. You got to have applications in place that makes it easier to translate and interpret the data. And then give recommendations of, okay, when you're at this state of your channel, this is what you should do next.
Gotcha.
And
that's
so
cool.
That's something that, we're really excited about with TubeBuddy, because, what we're trying to do is to help people be empowered to be data-driven, growing their audience, growing their revenues, but more than anything, to help them stay inspired.
Gotcha.
Whether it's, understanding the A/B testing better, or like the keyword search. We want to, give creators tools so they can, enjoy the process more. They can save time, but they can also be inspired, to move forward. And that's why this collaboration of Ben and TubeBuddy, working together and merging together, was so important, because TubeBuddy has such strong tools, and now we want to make it so we can give even more resources to this platform to even do more. And so I think technology and AI is going to be extremely helpful on giving the right recommendations to help creators continue to grow and optimize. And those recommendations will be customized. It's not going to be generalized on this is how it works for all creators, but it's going to be customized on you and the nuances and patterns around you and your content and around your audience. And it's going to be game changing, because it takes out guesswork, but it also saves so much more time. I don't see a day where bots are creating the art. I think it's going to be a collaboration between technology and the artist.
That's crazy. All the way up to the point where we're brains in jars in the metaverse. I'm just kidding.
That's a whole other conversation.
I know, right? We can't go into that.
So, you obviously are very passionate about collaborating and teamwork. But one thing I want, to talk to you about, let's act like, all 8 million like TubeBuddy users are here in this room with you, and you could give them advice on how to be more successful creators. What advice would you give?
Talk to people, 100%. I know it's but that's obviously everyone can find someone to talk to. Everyone can join a Discord group, join a Twitter group chat. I'm in a few. It's probably the most powerful thing is just having conversations with people who want to do the same thing that you are doing, or who are already doing the same thing that you want to do, and from there, just having agreements, having disagreements, having in-depth conversations about why or why not something will work in your video, and just getting that feedback, because that's what's gonna the people who I know who have grown the fastest, every single one of them are in a brain trust. They're in a mastermind group. That for some reason that word makes me cringe, but you know what I mean. It's like it's a group of people who all are committed towards a similar goal, trying to help each other improve and raise the tide, pretty much.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I think that's so true, and it's important. It's important to collaborate and also seek out mentors. And,
yes,
and that, that's something that I mentioned. I think in our last podcast is something that I've been trying to focus on. Okay, how can I find more wisdom, or get more ideas on making better decisions. And yeah, so no, that's very helpful. So tell me, you wanted to talk about like teamwork and collaboration. Is there anything else there that you want to add to this?
I can try my best. I think we definitely went on a crazy tangent with the AI stuff there.
Yeah.
But, I think if anyone is trying to be the best creator that they can be, building a team who you can build their confidence and turn them into confident team members through, not only feedback, but like just praising them when they kind of do stuff really, really well, is probably one of the key things. Anyone who I've observed who has like a cool team, an awesome team around their content, they always vouch their team insanely. Obviously, you have to find people who are willing and who are hardworking and stuff like that. And you got to make sure that you're not going to ask them to do anything that you wouldn't, be willing to do yourself. But obviously, perhaps they're a little bit better than you at doing it. I think that's probably one of the biggest keys to being successful and growing a channel to a larger scale in the future. Now, obviously, that's not the only way. So remember, don't take my intelligence too seriously, because there's people like Mark Rober who, he has one editor and he does most of the writing. He does all the writing. He does most of the editing for his videos and stuff like that. Just, I'd say strengths and weaknesses. Know your strengths, find the people to fill in your weaknesses, and just make them feel so important and reward them accordingly.
How big is your team?
Right now, well, this is something that we can kind of get into a little bit, because right now I just have one editor. Because what I've learned over this entire year, and especially like getting closer to people like Ryan Trahan and Eric, and talking with Jimmy a little bit, and then my friend Matthew Beam, who's been blowing up a lot, is that the people around you can really help you succeed. And obviously, as you succeed, you kind of a rising tide raises all ships, right? So they kind of come with you. Looking kind of not comparing, but like just trying to gain feedback from that, seeing their teams, and then seeing like kind of the mistakes that I've made in the past, like through hiring people. Like I've spent more on videos because of, just bad hires and stuff like that, but I wouldn't take it back because obviously I learned from it. Obviously I want to make sure I learn from it so I don't do it again. But so I guess all that to say, like, I've made a bunch of mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. I think it's don't get discouraged if you end up investing a bunch into someone and they don't end up working out, because it's happened so many times. I've gone through like probably 20 different editors, and then also at the same time look at yourself and be like, yo, why the HE double hockey sticks? Am I going through 20 different editors? am I just a jerk or something? Which is something that I learned too, is that, sometimes I can be a jerk. So I gotta watch that, and pretty much give people double the praise that I think I should give them, and then give them more after that.
Wow, that's fantastic. No, that's a great lesson to learn. Matthew, I'm very envious of like where you are right now, because this is such an exciting time to like have an adventure that you're having. And you're obviously thinking about other areas that, where you can get help by extending your team and delegating things out and figuring out where you're going. Where do you want to be in 3 years?
So that is probably one of the most important things that you can figure out, and it's something that I've figured out recently. But over this year, it's been like kind of a challenge to figure it out. Pretty much what we're gonna do in the next 3 years, I would love to, and I'm curious if we could do both the 3-year and the 5-year in 3 years. So I'll give you the 3-year and I'll give you the 5-year. But pretty much, I want to pivot the channel towards stunt content. I want to try my best to own that niche of stunt content and really be a good influence in that area. Make the channel kind of get tied in with mainstream, like Hollywood type stuff, so that, you know, in the future we could actually promote movies before they even come out, and perhaps like work with actors and stuff like that. Nobody steal my idea, but it's okay if you do, because I'm going to try to do it the best that I can, and hopefully I'll beat you. But I'm just kidding. But that's the goal for the next 3 years is just get to the point where, you know, Tom Holland is doing flips with us for like a collaboration for the first 30 seconds of our video. For 5 years, I want to take, and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback on this, because I've just kind of figured this out recently, but it feels really solid. I have this cheap Walmart globe. It's like a plastic globe, and it's turned to Africa. So what I want to do is use the proceeds from the kind of going the stunt route and trying to become the best that we can be in that niche. You know, leveraging pop culture and stuff like that to, you know, make parkour a lot cooler than it is alone, even though it is pretty cool. But getting that click and stuff like that, leveraging those funds to put into a gaming channel, because I love gaming, and then leveraging both those funds and perhaps maybe one more channel, depending on where we are at that time, to make a Zealous missions channel and go drill wells in Africa. I think it'd be super sick. And I think you could make really, really entertaining content around that. And the goal is just to, you know, do something good in the world. That's the goal.
Well,
so
you know, you have a goal, you have a vision, and it seems like you now have a strategy, and, you know, you'll see, you know, firsthand, well, you know, in real time, you know, what works, what doesn't work. But you know, I'm confident that you're going to be able to, you know, fulfill that goal and that vision, and that, you know, you're going to, you know, be stronger when you get to the other side. I mean, that's really exciting. What inspires you?
Man, I'd say first and foremost, and okay, I don't want to like be fake and stuff, so it's not always this. I think some, you know, I gotta, but it's, in my opinion, like, it's my goal for it to always be this. It's just Jesus Christ. I want to make an impact for His glory, you know, and stuff like that, because he changed my life. I used to be on a pretty weird path, hanging out with the wrong people and stuff like that, and that's an even longer story before the YouTube channel blew up and stuff like that. But I wasn't like this. I wasn't like a perfect Christian dude. I am, you know, a Christian, but I'm definitely still not perfect. Just want to make sure that's clear. But I want to make an impact for His glory, whether or not that means, you know, obviously anyone believes in Him because of me. The goal is, obviously, if you want to, I'll talk about it, but just to be the best that I can be for Him and the people that He places around me and stuff like that. So
your faith is so beautiful and inspiring. You know, thank you so much for sharing that. And
thank you, Ricky.
And I'm so thankful, you know, to have you on this podcast. And when we bumped each other at Vid Summit, you know, it was great to connect, you know, the first time in person and to figure this all out. And so, you know, thank you so much again, Matthew, for everything. And then before we end and sign off, I'm going to put up a short today.
Oh, really?
and we're now going, and it's going to be this right here. We're going to predict how many views the Squid Games video is going to get in 24 hours. So I'm going to go first this time, because you might think that, you know, my 15-day or 14-day was a little cheap. But you cannot be within 5 million views of my prediction. So 25.
Oh, so you're taking home field right now.
Yes. 25 million views in 24 hours.
Wait, 25 million views in 24 hours?
Yes.
That's your prediction?
Yes. Someone's going to reverse engineer all this and be like, whoa, he's full of crap.
Well, I don't know. I might be completely wrong, so I don't want to go with, but I'm going to go with my friend Patty Galloway's guess that I saw on Twitter today. 42 million in 24 hours. That's my guess.
Okay. So, we're going to see who's the closest, and, we're going to have to give each other heat for that.
I know, right? We're going to have to fight, and I'm going to have to experience your extra appendages behind your beard.
I'm looking forward to it. Again, thank you so much, Matthew. We're going to have to do this again. And let me know when you're in LA next, and we definitely reconnect. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Please subscribe. Please follow us on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, and
leave a good
see you
review
next time.